Okay, next up, what we have is process costing. Again, it is a method of costing, and it is a method where the manufacturing process is done in various processes and passed through multiple processes before it is converted to finished goods. Okay. Uh, some features of process costing are given, so they have mentioned a few things. So they say costs are charged to a particular process, and then it is averaged by the number of units produced, and there is a separate account for each and every process. And where is it useful? What kind of industries it is useful in? Okay, so we have that. Okay, then we have the features of process costing. The features. Are something that I would want you to remember, because there's a fair possibility of this being asked. Okay, so factory is divided in a number of processes. Output of one process becomes the input of other. Finished goods are not distinguishable from one another. Individual tracing of input and output is not possible, and production may give rise to joint products or byproducts. Okay, so these are 4 points that you can easily remember. Factory is divided in a number of processes. Output becomes input of the next process. Finished goods are not distinguishable from one another, and uh, the input output ratio, the input output tracing is not possible. Again, it may give rise to joint products and byproducts. Okay. Now, next topic that we have is the treatment of normal loss, abnormal loss, and abnormality. Now, we have been doing this in questions already, so I'm not going to put in time here. What I want you to do is just read it out and see what needs to be done. There's nothing much here. And then you have the valuation of WIP. Okay. Now, for the valuation of WIP, we have two methods. One we have the FIFO, and the second we have is the weighted average. Okay. Uh, what do we have here? It says average cost is determined by the total cost by total units. However, due to the continuous nature, there may be partially completed units too, and there may be opening WIP and also closing WIP. Okay, so this is basic commentary here, and we know how the equivalent units work. We create equivalent units. It is where we convert a partially completed unit as if they're fully completed, and we do that so that it becomes easier for us to calculate. Okay, the methods of the process costing, that is equivalent production. We have FIFO and weighted average. That is something already discussed. And then we have the inter-process profits, IPP. Okay. Now, what is inter-process profit? So, as I have already discussed in class, we know the basic background, but I'll just read it out for you. So, it says to control and measure the performance, different processes are assigned a different profit center, and in this arrangement, the output is transferred to the next process. Is either is not at cost; it is at market value or at cost plus a certain percentage of profit. Okay. So this is something that we have already done in class. The difference between cost and transfer price is known as inter-process profit, as in the price at which you the cost is and the price at which you transfer. Both of them together, the difference between the two is basically the transfer profit, inter-process profit. And we have some advantages and disadvantages. So for the disadvantages, I'd like to discuss that first. It gets a little complicated, and there may be unrealized profits. Okay, that was the sole purpose of why we were doing inter-process profit questions, right? And then for the advantages, comparison between the cost of output and its market price at the stage of completion is facilitated. So basically, what it means is it is mapped. It is mapped to how it is supposed to run, and each process is made to stand by itself as to the profitability. Okay, so each department makes its own profits. That becomes a little easier for us to understand what has been the performance for each of that process. Okay, so that is again one thing that you can find out. Apart from that, we have operations costing. So for the operations costing, we don't have again typically basically a lot. So basically, our chapter is called Process and Operations Costing. An operation is basically very similar to a process, where like for example, let's say uh, you are making a chocolate, or rather, you're making a dosa. Okay, a plain dosa, a masala dosa, a penne dosa, a penne masala dosa. Okay. Now you have the same process for almost everything. Okay. You have the same way as to how you make the dosa, and then you will keep on adding one or the other product to finish it up. So that's the whole idea of operations costing, which is why it says it is a system used when an entity produces more than one variant of the final product using different materials but similar conversion activities. So they use different materials but similar conversion activities. Okay, so the ingredients in a plain dosa and a masala dosa would be the same, but the way to make that the plain dosa and masala dosa would be different, but the way to make that almost remains the same, right? It is a hybrid system wherein the material cost is accumulated on job and batch order, but the conversion costs are accumulated using process costing methods. Okay, and under operations costing, conversion costs are applied using predetermined rates. This rate is based upon the budgeted conversion cost. So that's all you need to know about operations costing. This is your best option example to understand operations costing. Okay, the operation is almost the same, the way of conversion uh, is almost the same. Only thing is you just keep adding one or two processes to complete the final product. Okay, so very simple topic again from your theory standpoint. You don't have a lot, and this also gets finished over here. So you're done with this chapter as well. I'll just have a quick break and join you with the next chapter. Sure, bye.